Hello, guys. Welcome Allow TV. And this is my very second interview with John McEntee, right here from Incantation.
Hell
Welcome.
yeah. Hell yeah. Great to be here. Thank you for having me back again. I guess I did okay the first time.
It seems so. So, for the very first time, John McEntee will do an entire French interview, right?
Yes, oui, oui. I
Oui, oui.
learned a new word,
So, okay,
not just
let's try
bonjour.
in English. It's better, maybe. Yeah. So, of course, welcome everyone. You can ask your questions to John McEntee, of course, about the amazing new Incantation album. It's out for a week, and yeah, I've seen a lot of reviews, and it's the feedback is very, very good, right?
Yeah, it seems to be going really good, the feedback. I mean, we never know when doing it how it's going to go over. So it's nice to know that people like it. That's definitely cool.
Yeah, a lot of reviews worldwide. Uh, yeah, it seems like you going better and better, like the French red wine, you know?
Yes, that's what people say. I'm like a wine where it gets, the older I get, the better it gets. So that's a cool compliment.
And maybe another compliment is, yeah, you're still angry, and it's,
Yeah, I didn't
it's
soften up.
wow. Yeah, when you become becoming older and older, sometimes
Well,
you can become, yeah, pretty
what's that?
cool, and but no, not you, right?
Yeah, no, I ended up I was checking the stream of it, but I had to pause it because I can't hear you. Sorry about that. What were you saying now?
So we getting older and older, but
Yeah.
you're still angry, and yeah, I would say I was wondering if it's the a good way to not to grow, or to hold, to stay young in your mind.
Well, I mean, definitely I think a lot of it has to do with just lifestyle in general. It's like I set up my lifestyle the way I want to live, not the way necessarily society tells me to. So I think that really helps a lot. Besides that, it's like I just really love, playing music. I love playing with the guys in the band. I love creating it. I love playing it. It's part of my self-expression as a person to do this, and to do this with such other awesome musicians is just a great honor. So it's something that like I said, I truly enjoy doing, and because I enjoy doing it, it's easy to put a lot of passion into, the work. And it's like I don't take these things for granted. I don't take the fact that the band's been around for so long for granted. I don't take the people, the supporters coming out to the show for granted, and I don't take the press, anybody. I look at it all like I've accomplished everything I really wanted to, and at least for the most part. But I really, just really happy to still be doing it. And every day that I get to do it is a good day. And it's like um, an added bonus, we'll say, because it's like every show we play that kicks ass. It's like, it's just a great feeling to have that, have it still happen after all this time, because we have been doing it for so long. And nobody who plays this kind of music, I truly believe that probably everybody from our generation never expected that this music would still be relevant 30 years down the line. I mean, you just it's just not something that you could think. And the fact that there's a lot of young kids coming out to the shows and stuff too that are really into it, and they're into the new stuff, but they also care about the legacy of the band is just it's an amazing place to be as a musician. It's like, it's almost like that you feel comfortable with your confidence and with your success that you've had.
I was today I was thinking about all the death metal bands that I have interviewed, yeah, in the 90s, like Dismember, for instance,
Yeah, great guys.
Sweden. And now they come back with a new album next year.
Yeah.
And so all these death metal bands that are still relevant and yeah, full of energy, it's magical.
Yeah, well, it's great. I mean, it's so cool, especially for me, some of the other bands from our generation, like Dismember is a great example, it's like, you know, a band like us and Dismember both kind of grew up in the same time period. We're pen pals with some of the members. We've known those guys forever. And it's so nice to see people like that. Get the fire to do it again. And just get the inspiration. I mean, yeah, it's a bummer because they haven't done anything for what, like 15 years or something like that, which I think is a shame. But of course, I understand people, some people want to go on with their lives in different directions and stuff. But it's just nice to be able to have them come back and just be doing great because they're a band that they've always deserved. Deserved a lot of credit. I mean, especially like the early stuff was just phenomenal. Really, almost everything they did. I just didn't really like that was it the Killing Machine or Path. I can't remember what it is. Like third one, I thought was so. But everything else they've done has been awesome, totally awesome.
I love the death metal album.
Yes. Oh, it's a great one. Actually, yeah. That's I think that was the last time I seen them live before they broke up, and it was so good. And that's a great album. That is an underrated album, in my opinion, for Dismember, because most people look at, Everflowing Streamer, which is great too, but the death metal album is really a fantastic album.
This is the Swedish sound.
Yes, it was like, bands like
Entombed.
Entombed, yeah, and Dismember and Unleashed, and there was a whole bunch of underground ones, but I think it was really Dismember and Entombed, and yeah, and the ones I mentioned, Dismember, Entombed, and Unleashed, were kind of the ones that started the trend. I mean, I know Entombed played with was what was it? Nihilist beforehand. So that was, it's kind of like there's always that connection between Entombed and Unleashed, but they were definitely like the innovators. And there was a whole bunch of other bands though that came out around that time that were definitely influenced by those guys that have also extremely great bands. A lot of them, I don't think really did too much with death metal. I think they've changed their styles, but at that time it was like flooded with great demos. It was just insane.
What about the US? I'm a huge fan of the band Death. That I
Yes.
got the opportunity to see Chuck live, and
Awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it for you? What's your top three in death metal in the US?
Well, first of all, just getting to the death thing, just in general. Yeah, we've gotten to play with them one time. Oh, that was on the Sounds of Perseverance tour. We play with them actually in Chile, of all places, and it was a great experience, especially with having Richard Christie play drums, which is a friend of mine, which it was super cool, and it actually kind of broke the ice better. Actually, there was one other time we played with them too. I forgot. Was with when I did that tour. I think it was for Symbolic. I can't remember, but it was when they toured the U.S. with Gorefest and Sacrifice, and that was an amazing show for sure. And then, but as far as seeing him play live, I've been very fortunate. I got to see him early on, and for Scream Bloody Gore, for Leprosy, for Spiritual Healing. For me, those are my personal sweet spots when it comes to death metal and stuff. I mean, for Death, the band. As far as my three like what's favorite bands or most
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, for me, it has to be like the innovators for me because those are the ones that really inspired me. I mean, there's so many great bands, and especially if you divide them into eras and stuff like that. A lot of bands change a little bit over time and stuff, but I would say the most important ones for me is Possessed is always going to be, most important. I mean, that was a band that destroyed my mind and basically possessed me into wanting to be more, darker and evil with my music and stuff. I would say early on, I'd have to say I really, Morbid Angel's always been an important band for me too. The first time I heard their demos and that Abominations of Desolation album, it was just mind blowing. And it was another thing that kind of inspired me. And if I had to choose one more, I'd have to go with, Death, Scream, Bloody Gore. I mean, that was an album that kind of opened up the whole thing. But there's so many other bands, like demo bands at the time, like a Necrophagia, Necrovore, Soothsayer, just all these great bands that were all part of the, you know, super important to me too. It's not just the album stuff, we'll say.
Were you part of the in Europe? There was that in the 90s, 80s, the tape
Take-
trading.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you exchange with a lot of bands at the time?
yeah. I did a lot of tape trading. Basically, it was either like trading demos of like most of it was between my former band Revenant and Incantation. I used to do a lot of just demo trading with bands directly, but also I got into like trading stuff off people with lists and stuff and going, through their list and trying to find, just like dubbing copies of stuff too from, pen pals and stuff. So yeah, I was totally part of that, and that was something that was introduced to me when I joined the band Revenant. The guys, Henry from Revenant, and also a friend of ours, Jim Plotkin, at the time, were both really into the tape trading and like the underground mail fanzine scene and stuff like that. They introduced me to that, and once that I found out about that, I just went insane trying to find out as much info as possible about all these different metal scenes all around the world. It was really a super fun time to be able to hear, and a thing that people sometimes don't realize is that at that time, without having the internet and easy communication, it actually helped generate different sounding bands throughout the world because there wasn't this same everyone wasn't keyed into the exact same stuff, so I think that really helped the scene in the early days. People kind of follow their own path and stuff, or a band like us, a band from New Jersey, would be able to write to, we'll just say, a band from Sweden and then get some inspiration from them because we hear their demo. But other people around us really wouldn't know it unless they were like our friends and we, showed it to them or something. But most of the public wouldn't know these bands until later on. So it kind of spread the influence in an interesting way. And one of the downfalls these days about it is that, like I mentioned before, everybody gets the same information. Everyone can just go on YouTube and find the latest stuff and own everything by any band pretty easily. And even though it's great to have that access, it's also, it also, I don't know, devalues it or maybe mutes. Like there's stuff that you might like that you don't give enough time to mature or get comfortable with. Like for me, a band like Voivod, will say, for instance, first time I heard them, I didn't know what the hell was happening.
Hmm.
And then after a bunch of listens, it ended up being one of my most important influences as a band. But I would never have gotten there these days because these days, if I would have seen it on YouTube, I would have heard it and been like, whatever, this is crap, and not even give it any attention. But back then, if you went to the store and you bought an album, you wanted to listen to it and give it every chance possible, like because you just spent, what, $7 or $8 on a LP, sometimes more, and you'd want to get your money's worth, especially as a kid, because that money was like hard to come by back then.
Yeah. And you were talking about Possessed, one of
Yes.
your main inspiration, and so Jeff is a guest on this album.
hmm Yeah, he's part of the chant part in the song "Circles." We had multiple people fill in, and it's beyond a honor to have Jeff do vocals on the album. I mean, he's a legend and a really nice guy, and in the last few years, I've become pretty good friends with him and whatnot. So it just it was too irresistible for me not to ask him to do it, especially, when I wanted to do something that meant something, um, important on the album. It wasn't the publicity thing necessarily, but we just wanted some um, guests that were sentimental to us, we'll say, and possessed. Obviously, without possessed, most of what's going on now wouldn't exist, especially what we do. And but also, we had Henry Veggie in, which he filled in on vocals. He was my best friend and bandmate, and when I was playing in Revenant and stuff, and that was really important for me to have him on the album. And then we had Dan Vladivon, who's been sessioning for us on bass live, because our bass player Chuck can't always tour because of work. So it just seemed like, a great thing to have him a part of it. I mean, he definitely earned it. And then, then besides that, it's Luke and myself in the chant part. But yeah, I mean, to have Jeff uh, on the album, we're all really psyched about that. It's really a good thing for us, even though it's a small part, but it means a lot to us.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, the sound is still organic. Of course, this is
Yeah.
your trademark. Is it the same producer and same than the previous one?
Yeah, it was Dan Swano that mixed the album and recorded it basically the same way. I mean, we have the main studio over at a drummer's house to record the basic tracks and the drums, and then we all have home studios now that we record our parts in. That's the way we've done it for the last probably the last four albums, or at least three albums. And our we've had a lot of help from Dan Swano on getting the process organized as far as our home studio, so we can get him stuff the way he wants it, because it's always important to listen to the guy who's going to be producing and mixing your album, to try to give them stuff the way they want it. And yeah, and basically for this one, um, I just really wanted a more darker, heavier, more barbaric sound than the last one. I mean, the Sect of All Divinities came out great, but to me, in my personal opinion, it's too clean, and I knew that from the beginning, and I was a little concerned about it. But it ended up doing well for us and opened up a lot of doors, so that's great. But we really wanted more of a rougher, dirtier sounding album. It just fits with what we do, and I think a big part of the reason why Dan did such a great job doing the album is that he came out to our show last summer, right around the time when we were asking him to mix the album. He came out to one of our shows in Germany, and after watching us play live, I think it really clicked in his head, like, this is, he wants to capture that vibe on album, and that's great, because live is really where, in my opinion, death metal really comes alive and really has, a ferociousness to it. So he was able to kind of capture that, which is super awesome.
Uh, David asked, "What about the it's like kind of Leviathan on the artwork?"
Yeah, Elrond did an amazing job with the artwork. Yeah, and it basically goes with the concept of the album, which is kind of a creation of a new god from all the old gods. And basically the figure is the new god, and basically has eh, all the parts of all the demons and the sorted gods or whatever. It's like a kind of I guess it would be like a supreme being that isn't necessarily any one shape or whatnot. And yeah, basically the cover has people on the ground, kind of, I guess we'll say, worshiping it or whatever. And it's basically like all the souls have to go through this god, and that's why it has like the souls coming out of the kind of the body of the god on top, shooting through. That's kind of like the passageway, um, you know, to the next whatever.
Yeah, it's an amazing painting, right? Is it a
Yeah.
painting?
Yeah, he did a great job, and we like the fact that Elrond. I mean, just in general, any artist we work with, we really like real painting. Real people really doing it, not any kind of computer generated stuff. One something that has like real personality to it. And Eleanor Cantor did an amazing job with it. It's really awesome.
Let's remind that it's amazing artist works for yeah band like
Yeah,
Creator and
yeah,
so many bands.
yeah, he did those he did Sepultura stuff. He did, I think, well, Soulfly, Testament, Immolation. Man, there's just so many great ones, and he always able to capture a special vibe for each one. You know.
So the yeah the concept album was written by your bass player, right, Chuck?
Yes, yes.
So I was wondering about your you know the all the tracks, all the songs, and there is a kind of chapter. You know, it's not. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre because it's not in the order. So
Yes.
chapter four, and then chapter one, the pact. So let's go. Let's go deeper into this concept.
Yes.
So it's about old and new gods, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, first of all, the thing was is we wanted to have the proper flow of the album musically, which was the most important thing, because we realize that we have lots of casual listeners, and then there's more people that are more really into it and really die hard. So we have the Roman numerals is the chapters of the concept that Chuck came up with, and if people want to put the album, listen to the album as chapters, they know what the order is of it, so the story makes sense. But at the same time, we're not Pink Floyd or any band like that where they could do like a concept album from beginning to end and have it work fluently all together, because it wasn't really the like when we were writing the music originally, we weren't really in the mindset like this is going to be a concept album. It was just Chuck kind of came up with the idea, and we're just in it. At first, it was going to be like a loose concept that it didn't matter so much the order. At least that was the perception that I think Kyle and myself had. But then once you kind of realize that it's really, it was important to have them in, to let people know the order of the concept, we figured it'd be okay. It's cool. Let's add the Roman numerals on there and have it for the diehard fan. Plus, you know, it's something different because most bands, I think they would have just put it in the order of the concept 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Sure.
but doing that would have not been the proper expression for what we wanted for most people to hear the album. So it just, you know, we figured this way we get kind of best of both worlds. We have something that, okay, music flow works, and now we also have the concept flow, and you listen to it however the hell you want. You can listen to one song off it if you want. There's obviously no rules, but we do like to put a lot of consideration into structure, order of the album, and making sure things all make sense. It's all really important to us. It's not we're not looking at songs as individual singles. We're looking at it as one piece of album art, I guess, musically.
So yeah, of course, religion is a huge source of inspiration, and yeah, for you, what's the need of humanity to have a god or several gods, like in old Egypt? You know, they
Yeah.
created a lot of gods, and then Akhenaten, he brings yeah maybe just one god, maybe the first time in humanity, and it's so weird, so bizarre.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, I mean, I believe in freedom, so people should believe whatever the hell they want to believe. I just have my personal opinions on it, and I mean, it's true. I think it's ridiculous, religion. I mean, it's just to me, it's just very hypocritical, just in itself, and it's obvious that it tries to push people into being a certain way. We'll say that is right for society and stuff like that. And I understand some people get some stuff out of it, and good for them, but for me, it's like you know, I think the whole concept of religion is pretty lame, pretty stupid, and just I I know for myself, it's like I just believe it's important to believe in yourself and do what you feel is the right thing to do for yourself, and not worry about being judged by other people. Like I don't know if I mentioned it in this interview or not, but I really value being myself and doing things the way I want to do things, structure my life the way I want to do it. And religion is just a nonsensical, restricting of myself for no good apparent reason, in my opinion, because I just don't believe that it's, gods exist. But at the same time, if other people need that in their life, okay, that's fine. Just don't be a dick about it. It's like that's my whole thing is that people that are spiritual have such a strong feeling about it that they can't comprehend the fact or live with the fact that you don't believe what they believe in. Where it's like you believe in whatever the hell you want to believe in. It's like as long as you're not bothering me, why do I care? It's like it doesn't affect my life, but when it starts going into affecting people's laws of a country, or people getting actually hurt because of it, then it's obviously a problem.
But don't forget, never forget the goat. Okay.
No, trust me, no. I don't, for me, it's like anything that is, sacrilegious and anti-religious is something that I find really enjoyable and cool. I mean, for me, it's great. It's just I relate to it. I relate to things that are pushing the limits and dark and stuff.
Yeah. And guys, read, please read Nietzsche. The Antichrist is one of my favorite book ever. Do you know this
Yes.
book?
No, I
Nietzsche.
don't.
The Antichrist is a, yeah, lesson of the way Nietzsche see religions, and the way that yeah, the same thing. It's hypocritical, and yeah, it's just a way
Well,
maybe for people to be part of a sect, or yeah, to be part of um, a lot of people.
I think people need to, just realize that just because you believe something doesn't mean that it's the way it is for sure, and not in other people, what other people do or believe doesn't shouldn't affect you at all. I mean, y- you know, I don't want to get into, political stuff, but you just, for instance, in the US with abortion and stuff, it just seems crazy because it's like if you're religious and you don't believe in abortion, don't get an abortion. It's like why stop other people from doing it? It's like if they want to get an abortion and be damned in hell for it, then let them be damned in hell for it. It's none of your business. You don't need to be forcing people, forcing these things upon people. I think to me it's just lame, and to me it's totally hypocritical because the stuff that I learned as a kid in CCD and religious classes and stuff like that. It's like the Jesus that people are supposed to be following is not supposed to be a total condescending prick. He's supposed to be understanding of people and win people over by being cool and showing them good things, not winning them over by being an asshole. And that's what a lot of religious people do is they rather be condescending pricks about something than just try to be cool. And if you really want to get people to believe in your belief, be nice about it, be cool about it, or make it fun, or make it enjoyable. Don't make it into, don't make yourself out to be a jerk, you know?
And we see that around the globe, that
Hmm.
some freedoms are, yeah, decreasing. And it's not in the US. We can see it in France. We can see in the, yeah, in so
It,
many countries.
yeah, it's a ridiculous thing. And you would think with, you know, at this point in history that people would come to the conclusion that you know, religion is just not reasonable. But for some reason, people believe the unreasonable, and like I said, they can't just believe it personally. They have to like toss it on you all the time. So because of that, as especially as a kid and stuff like that, mostly I was very, very would very push my anti-religious beliefs because I kind of wanted to tell all these people that were trying to kind of say you can't do stuff and hold you down. I wanted to give everybody the middle finger, and be like, fuck you, fuck your God, fuck, all your bullshit. And, we're going to do things our way. We're going to blaspheme your God, and you're going to have to deal with it. It's just the way, when people push you, it makes you want to, push back in a way. And that's definitely how I felt, especially as a teenager. I mean, I still believe in all that stuff, but I'm obviously not, I don't go around being as quite as provocative as I was when I was younger and stuff like that. But when I was younger, it just seemed more important to make sure everybody in the world knew that, I thought Christ sucked. We would have fun times as a band, like when I was first starting the band with Paul Ledney, who now plays in Profanatica, we would just hang out at band practice, well, after band practice, and just come up with these funny, we would just joke around of funny ways to blaspheme Christ and stuff like that, just like it was just our fun time. We did a lot of dumb things that were really cool back then that were we'll say dumb and cool at the same time, fun to look back on, but these days you couldn't get away with as far as causing havoc for especially religious people and stuff.
And something very cool is your next tour with, I bet, old friends, Suffocation.
Yes. Yeah, those guys, that we grew up in the same scene. I mean, they were from Long Island, we were from New Jersey, so of course we crossed paths a lot back in the early days and stuff. And both bands, you know, are staples in the New York death metal scene. And one thing I want to say about the New York death metal scene, which I think is really good, and I know most people identify the death metal scene with, say, the Suffocation sound or bands like Internal Bleeding and stuff that have like that kind of brutal, but also like slam kind of vibe to them and stuff. But the reality with the New York scene, which I think is great, is that, you know, for, in my opinion, like the bands that were like kind of the innovators of it, at least the death metal aspect of it, was like Us, Immolation, Suffocation, and Mortician. And the thing that's great about it is that all four bands sound different. Like they don't sound like each other, and it's still the one scene of, it's not like some scenes. A lot of the bands sound very similar to each other, but for us, we all have individual sounds, but also very brutal and dark in our own ways. So it's really awesome, and to be able to tour with Suffocation, for us, it's going to be fun because we get along with those guys really well, and you know, it's just always enjoyable. But it's also great for the people coming out to the shows because I think people want to see, shows with the vibe of that old school, where we grew up. I mean, playing shows with Suffocation back in the day was like, a normal thing for us to do as a band. So it's nice, 30 something years later or whatever, be able to tour with, the same dudes that you hung out with when you were like 20 years old playing shows with. And I think people are really going to enjoy the shows. I mean, we've done a tour with them in South America and Central America and Mexico in the past. And it just, the shows are always insane. And people are just, they just love the fact that us old school, buddies all still get along and can, work out doing stuff together.
What about Europe and Disneyland Paris?
Yes. Well, we definitely want to. I mean, I know, when I talk with Terrence, I mean, we're all about touring together as much as possible. Just working out the details isn't always so easy and stuff. And like, both bands are so busy and everything. Our schedules don't always align up. So we're just lucky right now that it lined up for the US. And in my opinion, I believe that eventually we'll be able to do something with them in Europe. which will be, totally awesome. I mean, like I said, every time we tour with Suffocation, it's just a good time. I mean, those guys just really know how to have a good time, and they're just incredible live. I mean, so brutal and so well played. It blows my mind how how freaking intense they are live. It's like they're hanging out. You would think that, they could, be hung over or whatever. And once they get on that stage, it just sounds like so good. It's unbelievable.
And I know we are at the end of the summer, but next summer, maybe European festivals, maybe?
Yeah, we're already looking at it. We're gonna try. I think we're at the moment we're mostly hitting festivals in August next year, so we're gonna trying to book a bunch of stuff there. I think we're. I know there was talks about doing Motor Culture Fest, which we played before, which was really great. So we're hoping that could work out. We have a couple other ones in the works too, but I guess I'm not really able to talk about it until they're definite. But yeah, we hope that we get back for them. We also want to get to Europe in like the spring or the fall or something and do, like a regular proper tour in Europe that isn't around the festival season. I mean, the last time we were in Europe, it was July, it was, and it went great. It was right in festival season, but the tour still went really well, which is actually really cool because it is difficult to do shows like club shows this same time as the festivals are going on, but for us it worked out really good. So I really think if we were able to tour in either spring or fall, we'll be able to really kick ass.
Great. Let's remind this new album, Unholy Deification from Incantation. Thank you, John McEntee, again for great time.
Thank you, brother.
And yeah, let's hope to see you, to bring you in the bad streets of Paris, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, Paris. I gotta say, Paris is always an amazing show. I mean, especially if you get into a good sized club and people are just really pumped for it. There's always a crazy crowd in Paris and France in general. And we always really appreciate everybody's support there. Bonjour.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. And don't forget, guys, God bless
Yes,
Incantation.
yes. Go bless incantation. Hell yeah. See you guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Thank you. Bye bye.